Nari stared at the body on the examination table and tried not to scream in frustration. Test subject 7, dead within 30 minutes of treatment just like the previous 6. Time of death, 0427, Minho said quietly, turning off the monitors. The alien had been a Korthari scientist named through translation as Bright Peak Scholar. He had volunteered for the experimental treatment knowing he would die anyway. The silence had already begun destroying his mind. He hoped the treatment would give him a few more days, maybe weeks. Instead, it killed him faster. What went wrong? Yunji asked, looking at the data streams. Same thing that always goes wrong, Junho replied tiredly. We introduced chaos into his neural structure, and his brain couldn't handle it. It's like trying to run random code on a computer built for very specific programs. The whole system crashes. They had been working for 3 weeks straight developing treatments based on human brain chemistry. The theory was sound. Add enough interference to alien neural structures so the silence couldn't identify its targets. But theory and practice were very different things. We've tried 8 different approaches, Nari said, counting on her fingers. Direct chemical intervention, neural pathway disruption, electromagnetic interference, genetic modification, consciousness fragmentation, memory randomization, and 2 different types of surgical intervention. All failures, maybe it can't be done, Doyun suggested. He had just returned from another collection mission. There were only 43 known alien survivors left on Earth now, and only 12 were healthy enough for testing. Maybe alien brains and human chaos are just incompatible. No, Nari said firmly. There has to be a way. Witness told us to share our chaos. They wouldn't have said that if it was impossible. Maybe Witness was wrong, Minho said gently. They were dying when they spoke to us. Maybe they were hopeful rather than accurate. Nari refused to accept that. She walked to the window and looked out at the empty facility grounds. 3 weeks ago, this place had been full of activity. Now it felt like a tomb. 8 dead test subjects, each one volunteering because they had nothing left to lose. Each one dying because Nari's treatments had failed. We're missing something fundamental, she said. Some key piece of understanding. Yuna was at her computer running simulations. The problem is that we're adding chaos randomly. It's like throwing paint at a canvas and hoping it becomes art. There's no structure to our chaos, which sounds contradictory but makes sense mathematically. Chaos with structure, Junho mused. That's an interesting concept. Human brains aren't just random, Yuna continued. We have patterns, just unpredictable patterns. Our chaos follows certain rules even if we don't understand all of them. But when we try to artificially create that chaos in alien brains, we're not following any rules. We're just breaking things. Nari turned around. So we need to understand the rules of human chaos. If that's even possible, Yunji said. How do you quantify something that's defined by being unquantifiable? They spent the next 3 days studying human brains in exhaustive detail. Not just the structure, but how they worked in real time. Nari brought in volunteers from the facility. Soldiers, scientists, janitors, cooks. Anyone willing to undergo brain scans while performing various tasks. Junho made an observation on day 2. Look at this. When people solve math problems, their brains show organized patterns, very similar to alien neural activity. But when they're being creative, painting, making music, telling stories, the patterns become chaotic. Creative chaos, Nari said slowly. That's what we've been missing. She pulled up brain scans of a musician composing music, an artist painting, and a writer working on a story. The neural patterns were wild, unpredictable, but not random. There was structure there, just structure that couldn't be predicted in advance. Aliens optimized for logic and efficiency, Junho explained. They got rid of creative messiness because it wasn't useful for running civilizations or building technology. But humans never did that. We kept our capacity for art, music, stories, play. We kept the parts of our brains that do useless things. And those useless things are what the silence can't attack. Nari finished. Yunji pulled up her chemical analysis. So we don't need to make alien brains random. We need to make them creative. Give them the capacity for pattern breaking, for thinking in ways that don't follow predetermined paths. Can we do that? Minho asked. I have no idea, Yunji admitted. We're talking about fundamentally altering how a brain generates thoughts. It's not just chemistry, it's rewiring consciousness itself. Nari looked at her team. They were exhausted, demoralized, and running out of time. But this felt different. This felt like a real answer. We try it, she decided. Develop a treatment that encourages creative thinking patterns. Not random chaos, but purposeful unpredictability. The next week was a blur of research and experimentation. Yoonji developed a compound that could temporarily alter neuroplasticity, making alien brains more flexible. Yuna created algorithms that could model creative thought patterns. Junho worked out the theoretical framework for consciousness modification. Minho prepared the medical procedures. Their 9th test subject was a Vrenix engineer who called herself Star Counter. She was one of the last of her species, maybe one of the last 100 Vrenix alive anywhere. The silence had been eating away at her mind for 6 days. She had maybe hours left. "I understand the risks," Star Counter said through the translator. Her voice was weak but clear. "I'm dying anyway. If this treatment kills me faster, at least I die helping others." "Thank you," Nari said simply. There was nothing else to say. They administered the treatment slowly, monitoring Star Counter's brain activity with dozens of sensors. Yoonji's compound first, to make the neural pathways more flexible. Then a series of targeted interventions designed to encourage pattern-breaking thoughts. For the first 15 minutes, nothing happened. Star Counter's brain scans remained stable but showed no improvement. The silence continued its work, destroying neural structures one by one. Then something changed. "I'm seeing new pathway formation," Yuna said, pointing at the screens. "Her brain is creating connections in areas that were previously damaged." "That's impossible," Junho said. "Those structures were destroyed. You can't just grow new ones in minutes." But the scans didn't lie. Star Counter's brain was adapting, creating new neural patterns that didn't match the standard Vrenix template. Messy patterns. "Chaotic patterns, human-like patterns, how do you feel?" Minho asked Star Counter. The Vrenix was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was stronger. "Strange. I'm thinking thoughts I've never thought before, seeing colors in ways that don't make sense, having ideas that are illogical but also beautiful. Is this what human minds feel like?" "Every moment of every day," Nari said with a small smile. Over the next hour, Star Counter's condition improved dramatically. The silence was still present in her system, still trying to attack, but it couldn't find its targets anymore. Her brain had become too different, too chaotic. The disease had nothing to lock onto. "Vital signs stabilizing," Minho reported. "Neural degradation has stopped. She's not cured, but she's not dying anymore either." Star Counter sat up on the examination table. She looked at her hands as if seeing them for the first time. "Everything is different. I remember my life before, remember my work, my family, but I'm thinking about them in new ways. I'm imagining things that never happened. Making up stories. Is this normal?" "For humans, yes," Nari said. "Welcome to chaos." "It's wonderful," Star Counter said softly. "All my life I thought in straight lines. Problem, solution, result. Everything efficient, everything logical. But now my thoughts go in circles and spirals. They contradict themselves. They make no sense. And it's the most alive I've ever felt." The team celebrated quietly, but Nari couldn't shake a sense of unease. They had saved one person. 42 others still needed help, and thousands more were scattered across the galaxy. This treatment worked, but it was slow, required expert administration, and needed resources they barely had. "We need to make this faster," she told her team. "Simpler. Something that can be mass-produced and administered without specialist training." Yuna worked with Yoonji to streamline the treatment. They identified the key compounds and interventions, cutting the procedure from 6 hours to 45 minutes. Hana helped develop simplified instructions that could be transmitted to other survivors in the galaxy. Kyung coordinated with Earth's government to manufacture the treatment in larger quantities. Within 2 weeks, they had enough doses for all known survivors on Earth, with reserves for potential discoveries. But the real test came when they treated their first group of multiple patients. 12 aliens from 6 different species, all in various stages of infection. Some had hours left, others had days. All of them volunteered. Nari's team worked around the clock, administering treatments one after another. Minho operated on the surgical cases. Unji managed the chemical compounds. Yuna monitored neural activity. Chunyo handled the consciousness modification aspects. Doyen coordinated logistics. 3 patients died during treatment. Their systems couldn't handle the changes, or the silence had progressed too far. Nari stood over their bodies and felt the familiar weight of failure. But 9 survived. According to the latest reports, the silence has reached the outer territories. In a month, maybe. The message arrived at 3 in the morning. Nari was asleep at her desk when the alarm woke her. She jerked upright, knocking over an empty coffee cup. Around her, the lab was dark except for computer screens casting blue light across cluttered workstations. "What is it?" she called out. Yuna was already at her station, headphones on, typing frantically. "Unknown signal from deep space. It's encrypted, but the computer is breaking it down." Nari hurried over, her heart pounding. They hadn't received any transmissions from space in 2 weeks. The galaxy had gone silent. Every research station, every colony, every ship, all dark. Most people assumed everyone out there was dead. "Where's it coming from?" Nari asked. "Horsehead Nebula," Yuna replied. "That's over 1,500 light-years away. Whoever sent this must have a powerful transmitter. Or they're desperately trying to reach anyone," Nari said quietly. The decryption finished. Text appeared on the screen in broken English, clearly run through multiple translation programs. The grammar was wrong, but the message was clear. Earth humans. Survive. Must communicate. Truth about silence. Please respond. Council Station Refuge. We are last, Nari felt her breath catch. Someone was alive out there. Not just alive, they wanted to talk. She grabbed the communication array controls. "This is Dr. Narihan from Earth. We receive you. Please repeat message." Static filled the speakers for several long seconds. Then a voice came through, distorted and broken, but distinctly not human. The words came slowly, as if the speaker was struggling with the language. "Earth. Humans. You survive. How? All others die. Your species immune. We not understand." "We don't fully understand either," Nari said. "Our brain structure is different from other species. The silence can't target us. Who am I speaking to?" More static. "Then I am..." Name translation difficult. "Call me Witness. I am Galactic Council Observer. Stationed at secure facility. Shielded from silence. But not forever. Shields failing. Maybe days left." Nari's mind raced. "Witness, we're working on a cure. But we need information. Everything you know about the silence. Where it came from, how it spreads, why it exists." "I send data," Witness said. "But first, truth, difficult truth. The silence not natural, not accident. Was made..." Nari felt cold. "Made by who?" "Architects," Witness replied. "Ancient ones. Before all current civilizations. They left protocols, programs in galaxy. The silence is one." The communication cut out briefly, replaced by static. When Witness's voice returned, it sounded weaker. "Sending data now. Files ancient, protected. Council discovered but kept secret. Public would panic. Now public dead, so secret not matter." Nari watched as data streams flooded into their system. Gigabytes of information, thousands of files. Yuna worked to organize them, her eyes widening as she scanned the contents. "Dr. Han, this is incredible," Yuna whispered. "These files go back thousands of years. Pre-human history. Some of this data is older than recorded civilization." "What does it say?" Nari demanded. Before Yuna could answer, Witness spoke again. "You must understand. Galaxy was shaped. Made to purpose. Architects wanted all species to evolve same way. To become compatible. To merge consciousness across stars. Beautiful dream. Terrible price. What price?" Nari asked. "Any species evolving different path must be eliminated. The silence is cleanser. Removes aberrations. Returns galaxy to proper evolution." Witness's voice crackled. "But Earth humans are strong aberration. You reached stars too early. Wrong brain structure. The silence activated to remove you, but failed. You survive. Architect's plan broken." Nari sat down heavily. Her hands were shaking. "Let me understand this. You're saying the silence was designed to kill anyone who didn't evolve the right way? To enforce some kind of galactic blueprint?" "Yes," Witness confirmed. "Architects seeded galaxy 20,000 years ago. They left genetic programs, subtle nudges in evolution, guided all species toward convergence, made brains similar across all worlds. All species thinking same way, same structure. Ready for great merging. But humans evolved differently," Nari said. "Humans never received nudges, or ignored them. Or resisted, not clear why. But result same. You wrong shape for Architect's plan. Should have been corrected millions of years ago. Instead, you reached space with chaotic brain. Triggered failsafe. The silence. Yes. Designed to eliminate species that achieve space travel without proper convergence. Should have killed Earth humans like all others. But cannot. Your chaos protects you. First time in 20,000 years, failsafe fails. The communication line crackled again. In the background, Nari heard alarms. Shields breaking, Witness said, panic entering their voice for the first time. The silence breaching station. I die soon. But you must know architects still exist somewhere watching. They know plan failed. May take other action. Protect Earth, protect chaos. It is Galaxy's only hope now. Wait, Nari said urgently. How do we fight the silence? How do we stop it? Cannot stop. Can only adapt. Your chaos's answer. Must share chaos with others. Make all species messy like humans. Only way to survive. Only way to be free from architects. How? How do we do that? Static filled the line. Witness's voice came through one last time, broken and fading. Study yourselves. Understand what makes you different. Give that difference to others. Share the beautiful mess. It is gift, it is salvation. It is the communication cut off. Nari tried to re-establish contact for 10 minutes, but there was nothing. Just empty static. Witness was gone. She turned to find her entire team had gathered during the transmission. They all looked shocked, trying to process what they had just heard. The silence was made on purpose, Minho said slowly, to kill anyone who evolved the wrong way. Not wrong, Nari corrected. Different. We were different. And that was enough to trigger a genocide program 20,000 years old. Hana entered the lab carrying a tablet. She was a cryptographer who had been analyzing the Galactic Council's encrypted files for weeks. Her specialty was breaking complex codes and finding hidden patterns. I've been going through the data Witness sent, Hana said. It's worse than we thought. The architects didn't just want compatible species. They wanted to eliminate diversity entirely. Every civilization that achieved spaceflight in the last 20,000 years followed nearly identical developmental paths. They thought similarly, they built similarly, they even made art similarly. Convergence, Junho said. Forced evolution toward a single endpoint. Exactly. And any species that deviated too far got the silence. Hana pulled up charts showing extinction events throughout galactic history. Look at these patterns. Every few thousand years, there's a mass die-off of spacefaring species. The records call them cosmic plagues or mysterious catastrophes. But they're all the same thing, the silence activating and cleaning house. Kyung entered the room. She was a military strategist the government had assigned to the team 2 days ago. Unlike the scientists, Kyung thought in terms of threats and responses. She had been analyzing the galactic situation from a tactical perspective. If the architects are still alive and watching, they know we survived, Kyung said bluntly. They know their failsafe failed. What do we think they'll do about it? Send something worse, Minho said grimly. Maybe, Kyung agreed. Or maybe they'll wait and watch. See if we die out naturally. But either way, we can't assume we're safe just because we survived the first attack. Nari looked at the data Witness had sent. Thousands of years of galactic history, all pointing to one conclusion. Diversity was punished, conformity was enforced, and humanity had somehow slipped through the cracks. We're not just fighting a disease, she said. We're fighting an ideology. The architects believed there was only one right way to think, one right way to exist. They tried to shape the entire galaxy to match their vision, and when something didn't fit, they erased it. What do we do? Yunji asked. Nari stood up and faced her team. We do what Witness said. We share our chaos. We teach the survivors how to be messy, inefficient, and beautifully imperfect. Because that's what the architects couldn't plan for, someone being different on purpose. The remaining aliens are dying. Doyun pointed out. We have maybe a few hundred survivors left across the entire galaxy. Is it even worth it? Yes, Nari said firmly. Because every survivor represents a species, a culture, a way of seeing the universe. If we let them die, the architects win. They get their perfect uniform galaxy with just one species, us. And eventually we'll probably all evolve toward that same convergence point they wanted. In 10,000 years, our descendants might have the same organized brains, the same efficient thinking. And then the next failsafe activates. She looked around the room. We have to break the cycle. Not just survive, but ensure diversity survives. We need to save those aliens not just because it's the right thing to do, but because their different ways of thinking are what keeps the galaxy alive. Junho nodded slowly. Witness said to study ourselves, understand what makes us different, and share it. So that's what we do. We figure out how to export human chaos to alien brains. Can it be done? Kyung asked skeptically. We're about to find out, Nari replied. She pulled up the research data they had collected. Weeks of studying neural patterns, brain chemistry, consciousness architecture. They knew why human. The research facility in the DMZ was cold and windowless, buried 30 meters underground. Nari liked it that way. No distractions, no interruptions, just work. She had assembled her team in 3 days, pulling scientists from every corner of Korea and beyond. Now, 2 weeks after the silence had first reached Earth, they were finally making progress. "Run the simulation again," Nari said, leaning over Yuna's shoulder. Yuna was a computer scientist, young and brilliant. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up neural mapping data. On the screen, a three-dimensional model of an alien brain rotated slowly. Glowing lines showed the pathways where the silence attacked. "Same result," Yuna said. "The organism targets these specific structures. It's like a key fitting into a lock. Perfect match every time." Beside her, Junho was studying his own set of data. He was a quantum biologist who specialized in consciousness research. Before the silence, he had been working on understanding how thoughts formed in the brain. Now his research had taken on a much more urgent purpose. "It's beautiful in a horrible way," Junho said quietly. "The silence is incredibly sophisticated. It doesn't just kill randomly. It identifies the exact neural patterns common to all advanced species and dismantles them piece by piece." "What patterns?" Nari asked. Junho pulled up several brain scans side by side. Phoenix, Korthari, Sendai, and 5 other species. "Look here. See these crystalline formations? Every spacefaring species has them. Their neural pathways are organized in almost identical ways, different in details but the same basic structure. Like different languages using the same alphabet," Yuna added. "Exactly," Junho confirmed. "Their brains evolved to be efficient. Perfect memory recall, faster processing speeds, logical reasoning without emotional interference. Some species even developed hive mind capabilities because their brains were so synchronized." He pulled up a human brain scan and placed it next to the alien ones. The difference was striking. Where alien brains showed clean, organized patterns, the human brain was chaos. Neural pathways twisted and doubled back on themselves. Dead ends appeared everywhere. Whole sections seemed to serve no purpose at all. "We're a mess," Junho said with a slight smile. "Human brains are inefficient, redundant, and full of what scientists used to call junk pathways. We forget things, we make mistakes, we let emotions override logic. Our consciousness is scattered across multiple areas instead of centralized. By any measure of optimization, we're failures. But that's why we're alive," Nari finished. "The silence can't attack us because there's no standard structure to target." "Right. It's like trying to unlock a door when there is no door. Just a wall with random holes in it." Junho sat back in his chair. Every other species cleaned up their evolutionary mess. They streamlined their brains over millions of years. We never did that. We're still running on the same chaotic system our ancestors used in caves. Doyen entered the lab carrying a sealed container. He was a field medic who had spent the last week collecting samples from alien colonies across Asia. He looked exhausted, his military uniform dusty and torn. "I've got 17 different species here," Doyen said, placing the container on the examination table. "All deceased. Collected them before decomposition could set in." "Any survivors in the field?" Minyo asked. He had joined the team permanently, serving as the chief medical officer. 3, Doyen reported. "A Korthari scholar in Japan, a Vrenix engineer in Indonesia, and something called a Talani in Singapore. They're all in the final stages. Maybe hours left." Nari felt her chest tighten. 3 survivors out of billions. The silence was close to completing its work. "Get them here," she ordered. "If they're going to die, they die helping us understand this thing. Maybe we can learn something in their final hours." The next few days were brutal. Nari's team worked around the clock, analyzing tissue samples, mapping neural patterns, and testing theories. They discovered that the silence wasn't just one organism. It was billions of nano-sized entities working together like a swarm. Each tiny piece targeted a specific part of the neural structure, breaking it down atom by atom. "It's like watching a building being dismantled," Yunji explained, showing microscope footage. "Each organism knows exactly what to destroy and in what order. There's intelligence behind this programming." "So it's artificial," Minho said. "Someone made this weapon. Maybe, or it evolved this way." Yunji zoomed in closer. "Either way, it's frighteningly good at its job." Yuna was working on mapping out every possible variation of neural structure when she made a breakthrough. She had been comparing brain scans from hundreds of sources when she noticed something odd. "Dr. Han, look at this," she called out. Nari hurried over. On the screen, Yuna had isolated a specific pattern that appeared in every alien brain but was completely absent in humans. "This structure appears in every spacefaring species. I mean every single one," Yuna said. "It's like a signature, a marker that says advanced brain." Junho examined the pattern. "That's the convergence point, where all major neural pathways meet. It allows for faster integration of information across different brain regions. Humans don't have it," Yuna continued. "Our information processing is spread out. Slower, less efficient, but also less vulnerable. If the silence destroys that convergence point, the entire brain falls apart. So we're immune because we never evolved that structure," Nari said slowly. "We're too primitive." "Not primitive," Junho corrected gently. "Different. We took a different evolutionary path. While other species optimized for speed and efficiency, humans kept redundancy and chaos. Maybe because we needed creativity more than logic. Maybe by accident. But it saved us." They brought the 3 surviving aliens to the facility. The Korthari scholar could barely speak, his mind already fading. The Vrenix engineer was unconscious. The Talani, a small crystalline being, communicated through light patterns that Yuna's computer translated. "Why?" the Talani asked through the translator. "Why are you immune?" "Our brains are different," Nari explained. "We never developed the structures that the silence targets." "Then you can help," the Talani said, its lights flickering weakly. "You must help. My species is dying. All species are dying. Only you remain." "We're trying," Nari promised. "We're trying to understand this disease so we can fight it." "Time," the Talani's lights pulsed. "No time. The silence spreads to outer colonies. Soon all will be darkness." The Talani died that night. The other 2 followed within hours. Nari stood over their bodies, feeling the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. These weren't just casualties. They were representatives of civilizations older than human history, and they were all looking to humanity, the youngest species, for salvation. "We're missing something," she said to her team during a midnight meeting. "We know why humans are immune, but that doesn't help us save anyone else. We need to find a way to disrupt the silence's attack pattern." "We could try introducing chaos into alien neural structures," Yunji suggested. "Make their brains more like ours." "That would kill them," Minho objected. "Their entire consciousness depends on those organized patterns. Take that away and there's nothing left." "Maybe there's a middle ground," Junho said thoughtfully. "What if we don't remove the structure but add interference? Create enough noise that the silence can't find its targets?" "How?" Nari asked. "I don't know yet," Junho admitted. "But think about how human brains work. We have structure, just not organized structure. We have patterns, just chaotic patterns. Maybe we can teach alien brains to embrace a little chaos without destroying their core functions." Yuna pulled up her neural models. "It would be like adding static to a clear signal. The information is still there, just harder to isolate and target." "Can it be done?" Nari pressed. "I have no idea," Junho said honestly. "We're talking about fundamentally altering how an alien brain processes information. It's never been attempted. It might be impossible." "Everything about this situation is impossible," Minho pointed out. "Humans surviving when everyone else dies is impossible. A disease that targets only intelligent species is impossible. We're already living in impossible times." Nari looked around at her team. They were exhausted, running on coffee and determination. Yunji had dark circles under her eyes. Yuna hadn't left the facility in 5 days. Doyen was dealing with nightmares from collecting bodies in the field. Minho had lost 10 kilograms from stress. Unyo looked like he aged 10 years in 2 weeks. But they were still working. "Still fighting?" "Okay," Nari said. "We focus everything on creating neural interference. Junho, you lead the theoretical work. Yuna, model every possible outcome. Yunji, start developing compounds that could alter neural chemistry without killing the patient. Minho, prepare for clinical trials. Doyen, find us test subjects who are willing." "Test subjects?" Doyen repeated. "Doctor, everyone who gets infected dies within hours." "Who would volunteer for that?" "Someone desperate enough to try anything," Nari said grimly. "Someone who would rather die trying than wait for certain death." She looked at the star map on the wall. More dark zones appeared every day. More civilizations gone silent. More worlds empty. "The galaxy is dying," she said quietly. "And we're the only ones who can hear their screams. We have to do this. We have to find a way. Junho nodded slowly. Then we better work fast. Dr. Nari Han stood in the emergency room at Seoul National University Medical Center, watching the impossible happen before her eyes. The Sendai ambassador was dying and there was nothing she could do about it. Blood pressure dropping, a nurse called out. Push another round of epinephrine, Nari ordered, even though she knew it was useless. They had tried everything. Nothing worked. The ambassador's name was impossible for humans to pronounce, so everyone called him Ambassador Vel. He had been healthy yesterday, attending meetings and giving speeches about trade agreements. This morning he collapsed during breakfast. By noon he was screaming. Now 6 hours later, his mind was gone. Nari had seen many patients die in her 15 years as an epidemiologist, but she had never seen anything like this. The brain scans showed massive deterioration, like someone had taken an eraser to the ambassador's neural tissue. His mind was literally disappearing, Dr. Han, the nurse said softly. He's gone. Nari checked the monitors. Flatline. She called the time of death and stepped back from the bed. That made 17 alien deaths in her hospital alone. Across Seoul, the count was over 100. Across Earth, thousands and not a single human patient. She pulled off her gloves and walked to the doctor's lounge. Her colleague, Dr. Minho Park, was already there. He was a trauma surgeon, broad-shouldered and usually cheerful. Now he looked exhausted, his surgical scrub stained with the blue blood of Korthari patients. 3 more in surgery, Minho said without greeting, all dead within minutes of showing symptoms. I couldn't do anything. It's not an injury I can fix. It's like something is eating their brains from the inside. I know, Nari said. She poured herself coffee and sat down heavily. The Galactic Council sent their final transmission an hour ago. They said we're on our own. Most of their member worlds are already gone. The rest are dying. How many civilizations? Minho asked. At least 15 confirmed extinct. Maybe more. Communications are breaking down everywhere. Nari rubbed her eyes. And humans? Still 0 cases. I've been exposed to the disease directly. So have you. So have thousands of medical workers. Nothing. It doesn't make sense, Minho said. Every other species is vulnerable. Every single one. Why not us? I don't know yet, Nari admitted. But I'm going to find out. The door burst open. A young woman rushed in out of breath. She wore a lab coat over jeans and her hair was pulled into a ponytail. Yoonji had been Nari's student 5 years ago and was now a microbiologist at the hospital's research lab. Dr. Han, I've been analyzing the samples, Yoonji said quickly. You need to see this. They followed her to the lab. Yoonji pulled up images on multiple screens showing microscopic views of tissue samples. Nari leaned closer, studying the strange structures. What am I looking at? She asked. These are from Ambassador Vel's brain tissue, Yoonji explained. See these formations? They're not natural. They're organized, almost mechanical. I think the silence isn't a virus or bacteria. It's something else. Something artificial? Artificial? Minho repeated. You mean someone made this? Maybe, or it evolved to be this way. Either way, it's targeting specific neural structures. Yoonji pulled up another image. This is a Korthari brain. Notice the crystalline patterns in the neural pathways? Very organized, very efficient. Now look at a human brain sample. The human brain scan looked completely different. Where alien brains showed clean, organized patterns, human brains were chaotic. Neural pathways twisted and overlapped in seemingly random ways. We're messy, Nari said slowly. Understanding dawning. Human brains are inefficient compared to other species. Exactly, Yoonji confirmed. Every spacefaring species we've met has highly organized neural structures. They're optimized for fast processing, logic, perfect memory. We're not. We forget things, we make mistakes, we think in weird ways. And maybe that's why the silence can't kill us. It doesn't know how to attack something this disorganized. Minho laughed, but there was no humor in it. So we survived because we're stupid. Not stupid, Nari corrected. Different. Our brains evolved differently. We never optimized for pure efficiency. We kept all the messy, redundant pathways that other species eliminated over millions of years. Outside the lab, an alarm sounded. Then another. Nari pulled out her phone and saw emergency alerts flooding the screen. The alien district in Seoul had gone completely silent. No communications, no movement, nothing. It's spreading faster, she said. We need to establish quarantine zones immediately. But even as she said it, Nari knew it was too late. The silence was everywhere now. The disease had spread through Earth's alien population like wildfire. Embassies, research stations, mixed neighborhoods, anywhere aliens lived among humans became death zones. The next 72 hours were the worst of Nari's life. She barely slept, moving from hospital to hospital, documenting cases and trying desperately to find a pattern. Minho operated around the clock, trying to save patients who couldn't be saved. Yoonji worked in the lab, analyzing samples and searching for answers. Nari saw things she would never forget. Of Vrenek's mother holding her human neighbor's hand as she died, begging the human to take care of her children. But Vrenek's children were already dead. The disease killed everyone in the species regardless of age. She saw humans weeping over alien friends and partners. Mixed families destroyed as one half died while the other half remained untouched. The emotional trauma was immense. Survivors' guilt spread through the human population. Why did they live while everyone they loved died? By day 4, the death toll had stabilized. Not because the disease had stopped, but because there were almost no aliens left alive on Earth. 98% of Earth's alien population was gone. The remaining 2% were scattered and isolated, most too sick to move. Nari stood on the hospital roof looking out at Seoul. The city was eerily quiet. No alien ships in the sky, no multi-species crowds in the streets. It was just humans now, standing in a city full of ghosts. Minho joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one without speaking. They stood in silence for a long moment. "The world thinks we're next," Minho finally said. "People are panicking. They think it's just a matter of time before the silence mutates and starts killing humans too." "It won't," Nari said firmly. "This disease is specifically designed to attack organized neural structures. Human brains are too different. We're not just resistant, we're completely immune. How can you be so sure?" "Because I've been directly exposed over 300 times now. I've worked with infected tissue without proper protection. I've breathed recycled air in rooms full of dying patients. If this thing could kill humans, I'd be dead." Nari took a sip of coffee. "We're immune, Minho, which means we have a responsibility." "What kind of responsibility?" "To save them," Nari said simply. "The rest of the galaxy is dying. We're the only ones who can help." "How? We barely understand this disease." "Then we learn, fast." Nari turned to face him. "I'm putting together a research team. Best people we can find. We're going to figure out why humans are immune, and then we're going to find a cure." "A cure? Nari, we don't even know what this thing is." "How can we cure it?" "I don't know yet," Nari admitted. "But I know we have to try, because if we don't, we'll be the only intelligent species left in the galaxy, and I don't think I can live with that." Minho looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, count me in." "What do you need?" "Everything," Nari said. "Medical data, biological samples, brain scans from every species we can get. I need Yoonji full-time in the lab. I need computer scientists, quantum physicists, anyone who understands consciousness and how brains work. The government will never approve the funding for something this big," Minho warned. "They will when I show them the alternative." Nari pulled out her tablet and showed him a star map. Huge sections were grayed out, marked as dark zones. "These are confirmed extinct civilizations. In 1 week, we've lost more knowledge and culture than humans have created in our entire history. If we do nothing, all of it disappears. Every species, every achievement, every dream. Gone." Minho stared at the map. "Where do we even start?" "We start with what we know," Nari said. "We know humans are immune. We know alien brains are organized differently. We find out why that matters and we use it to fight back." She looked up at the sky. Up there, somewhere, entire worlds were dying. Species that had explored the stars for thousands of years were being erased, and Earth, the youngest member of the galactic community, was the only one left standing. "We're not going to let them die alone," Nari said quietly. "We're going to save them or die trying." Minho raised his coffee cup in a tired salute. "To the impossible." "To the impossible," Nari agreed. They had no idea if they could actually do it, but they had to try. Because humanity might be messy, chaotic, and inefficient, but they were also stubborn. And they never gave up. Tejo stared at the screens in front of him, watching the death count climb higher every minute. Numbers turned into thousands, then millions. His hands shook as he typed another report that nobody would probably read. The research station on Kepler 442b had become a tomb, and he was running out of time. 3 days ago, everything had been normal. Taiho worked alongside scientists from 12 different species, studying plant life on distant moons. They laughed together, shared meals, and complained about the station's terrible coffee. Now most of them were dead. The disease had no name at first. People just called it the sickness or the death. The Galactic Council later named it the silence because of what it did. Infected beings stopped talking first. Their eyes went blank. Then they started screaming, clutching their heads as if something was eating them from the inside. Within hours, they were gone. Taiho had watched his friend Vorath die yesterday. Vorath was a Klendari scientist, brilliant and kind. He had taught Taiho how to read stellar charts and always saved him an extra portion of food. When the sickness took him, Vorath grabbed Taiho's arm and whispered, "My mind is disappearing. I can feel it going away piece by piece." There was nothing Taiho could do except hold his friend's hand until the end. The station's medical bay was full of bodies now. Dr. Kess, the head physician, had been the first to go. She died before anyone understood what was happening. The other doctors followed soon after. Every species seemed vulnerable. The Vreniks, the Korthari, the Sendai, all of them fell to the same invisible killer. Taiho was human, the only human on the station. Earth was a new member of the Galactic Council, barely 50 years into space travel. Other species saw humans as primitive, slow, and inefficient. They were kind about it, but Taiho knew what they thought. He had worked twice as hard as everyone else just to earn his place here. Now he was the only one still working. Not because he was better, but because he wasn't sick. He pulled up the communication array and tried again to reach Earth. The signal was weak, but it went through. Ambassador Curie's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. "Taiho, what's your status?" she asked. "Everyone's dead or dying," he said flatly. 73 people were on this station. I count 8 still breathing, but they won't last the night. The Vreniks' homeworld went silent 12 hours ago. That's 4 billion people, Ambassador, just gone. Curie closed her eyes. "We're getting reports from everywhere. The Council is in chaos. 3 civilizations have already fallen. The Korthari Empire collapsed in less than a week. What do we do?" Taiho asked. "Survive," Curie said. "Gather all the data you can. Send it to Earth. If this thing reaches us, we need to be ready." "It will reach you," Taiho said quietly. "Nothing stops it. I've been exposed 100 times. I held dying friends. I breathe the same air. I should be dead, but I'm fine. I don't understand why." "Maybe humans are naturally resistant," Curie suggested. "Or maybe I'm just lucky and I'll drop dead in an hour." Taiho replied. "Either way, I'm sending everything we have. All our medical scans, all the data. Maybe someone smarter than me can figure this out." The screen flickered. Behind Curie, Taiho could hear alarms and shouting. "What's happening?" he asked. "The Sendai embassy just went dark," Curie said. "It's here. The silence has reached Earth." Taiho felt his stomach drop. "Get people away from the alien quarters. Quarantine everything. Don't let—" "We're trying," Curie interrupted. "But nobody knows how it spreads. Is it airborne, water, direct contact? We're shooting in the dark." Another alarm blared on Taiho's station. He checked the monitor and saw that life support was failing in the western wing. The automated systems were shutting down one by one as the station's AI tried to contain the contamination. It was a losing battle. "I have to go," Taiho said. "I'm setting the station to self-destruct in 24 hours. If I don't make it, at least the disease burns with me." "Don't give up," Curie said firmly. "You're a survivor, Taiho. Keep fighting." The connection cut out before he could respond. Taiho stood up and walked through the empty corridors. Emergency lights cast everything in a red glow. His footsteps echoed in the silence. He passed the cafeteria where he had eaten breakfast with Vorath just last week. He passed the rec room where everyone gathered to watch movies from different worlds. All empty now. In the medical bay, he found the last survivors, 6 aliens from different species, all in the final stages. They were strapped to beds, thrashing and moaning. Their minds were already gone. Taiho checked their vital signs out of habit, knowing there was nothing he could do. One of them, a young Korthari named Sella, had been a junior researcher. She was only 23 in Earth years. Her species aged slowly, so she would have lived for centuries. Now she stared at the ceiling with empty eyes, her 3-fingered hands clenching and unclenching. Taiho sat beside her bed. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry we couldn't save you." She didn't respond. She couldn't. Her mind was already gone. He spent the next few hours collecting samples, recording symptoms, and documenting everything. If he was going to die here, at least he would leave behind useful information. He took blood samples from each species, tissue samples, brain scans. He worked like a machine, pushing down his emotions, focusing on the task. By the time the last survivor died, Taiho had compiled a massive database. He uploaded it all to Earth, sending stream after stream of information. Medical data, autopsy results, environmental scans, everything. His final message was simple. It's coming. Nothing survives. But maybe you will. Maybe humans are different. I hope so. I really hope so. This is xenobiologist Taiho Kim, signing off from Kepler 442b. Good luck, Earth. He hit send and watched the progress bar crawl across the screen. 90%, 95, 98, 100%. Transmission complete. Taiho slumped in his chair and waited. He waited to feel the first signs of the disease. The confusion, the headache, the sense of his mind slipping away. He waited for death, but it never came. Hours passed. Then a full day. Then 2 days. Taiho remained perfectly healthy, while the station crumbled around him. He wandered the empty halls like a ghost, the last living soul in a graveyard. On the 3rd day, he received a message from Earth. It was brief. Multiple alien deaths confirmed across all embassies and hybrid zones. 0 human casualties. Repeat, 0 human casualties. You were right, Taiho. Humans are immune. We need you to come home. We need every scientist we can get. A ship is coming. Taiho read the message 3 times, unable to believe it. Immune. Humanity was immune to the thing that was destroying the galaxy. He thought about Vorath, about Sela, about all the brilliant minds he had worked with. They were gone, erased by a disease that couldn't touch him. There was no logic to it, no fairness. The galaxy's most advanced species were dying while humanity, the newcomers, the primitives, survived. He sat in the observation deck and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, civilizations were collapsing. Billions were dying. And Earth, tiny Earth with its messy, inefficient humans, stood untouched. Taiho didn't feel lucky. He felt alone, but he also felt something else, determination. If humans were immune, then maybe they could help. Maybe they could find a cure. Maybe they could save what was left of the galaxy. He just had to survive long enough to get home.